Welcome to the bold analysis, ladies and gentlemen. I have taken time and listened to the 25-minute speech by the 5th President of Kenya, William Samoei Ruto. And when I listened to that speech, I just wanted to find out, does it match this understanding that have been planted in us that America is planning to put Kenya as a strategic investment partner? And after that, I took time to package what will be the real picture of, or rather what was the real objective of that speech. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the bold analysis. In today's speech, during the United Nations General Assembly, William Ruto spoke about the multinational security operation in Haiti, revealing its appeal to the US in the military front, and this is well explained in this soundbite.
Haiti deserves better from the world. The cry of our brothers and sisters who were the first people to win their struggle for freedom from colonial tyranny has reached our ears and touched our hearts. Doing nothing in the face of the historic isolation, neglect, and betrayal of the people of Haiti is out of question. Inaction is no longer an option. As we mobilize to show up for Ukraine and countries that have experienced the devastating impact of climate shocks, including Libya, Morocco, and Hawaii, we must not leave Haiti behind.
That explains that William Ruto took Kenya's military agenda to that global stage. Do you know that America allocates 1.3 billion a year for Egypt in Africa? And really, this is part of just a portion of other countries. Other countries that also get military aid. America sends military aid to Japan, Ukraine, now that is now currently in fight with Russia, Saudi Arabia, and other countries. And despite the fact that Egypt has been receiving, I think, the largest military aid from America, they did not offer to help in the Haiti situation. Kenya has never. And I was just listening to another podcast saying that there seems to be a deliberate effort that what is being packaged as an investment hub, when you listen to William Ruto's speech there, apart from talking about a recap from the climate summit that happened in this country, and of course the usual debate around the debt crisis, about the debt structure by the African countries that normally go to Europe with a begging bowl, largely William Ruto took a very strong stand about the military interventions in the war-torn countries. We are currently leading peace efforts in Ethiopia, Somalia, DRC, and Sudan, and he now says that Kenya has gone international, putting a very clear point on what Kenya really stands for as far as these fights are concerned, speaking clearly of the Kenya's security stand in Africa.
Kenya is ready to play its part in full and join with a coalition of other nations of goodwill, and there are many, as a great friend and true sibling of Haiti. We urge the United Nations to urgently deliver an appropriate framework to facilitate the deployment of multinational security support as part of a holistic response to Haiti's challenges.
At this point, it may be write to inform you, or rather just to remind you, that while Ruto was away, back home, Kenya has experienced security lapses in critical sectors where our gallant soldiers have suffered accidents in Lamu. And preliminary reports show that the faulty, it could be that the aircraft they were using was a bit faulty. And that is not the first time. I think there was even another one that also had the same fate, thinking Baringo. And it is a question of why is that really happening? Something is amiss. So we've seen our gallant soldiers suffering at our border points, and of course the currently country Kenya has been suffering the insurgents of those other people, those other extremist groups. So there is another point I need to drive home at this point. Egypt is where US hold their security interests. But in Kenya, they portray to harbor investment interest. But what I'm going to show you next is going to give you a different picture that I want you to pay attention to. As much as we push, our own agenda here is we want military aid. In fact, let me tell you, one of the reasons why we are even throwing ourselves that we have to help this Haiti and this and that, we are trying to make look good, because we also want to fall in the bracket of those countries in Africa who will also benefit from the military aid. And I will explain more about it. Now, something happened, and the risk with this is well in this screenshot. In Egypt, despite of them receiving that military aid, civil society organizations have been talking about erosion or abuses of human rights, violation of human rights, while America is sending mixed signals. So this is what I've got this screenshot from the Reuters. They are saying, but human rights groups have long accused Egypt of widespread abuses under the President Abdel Fattah Sisi's government, including torture and enforced disappearance. Said the US decision sends the wrong message. This is what they're saying. The administration is effectively telling Sisi's government that it saw improvement in human rights situation over the past year, when in fact things have degenerated significantly. A consortium of 16 groups that include Freedom House and the Project on Middle East Democracy said in a statement. This is what they've been saying. And I need you to get it. What's happening in Egypt? The US gives a whopping 1.3 billion, I think that's euros, dollars per year. So America gave a report that of course they withheld some money from giving Egypt because of some of these lapses of human rights violation. But the civil society groups are saying that contrary to what America portrays, there have been violation of human rights. I want us to bring it back here in Kenya. The other day when Meg Whitman was here, the US ambassador, and she was giving, I think, a speech here, she was saying that Kenya is, in terms of investment, it's best in terms of investment, and that William Ruto's policies are favorable, and was showering President Ruto or Kenya Kwanza with, was sharing them with praises. But in real sense, mambo ni tofauti kwa ground. The way we are introducing most of these taxes, we are actually not making it friendly, and our tax regime has become very unpredictable. Samia Suluhu was even confiding and actually going public, saying that there are some investors that are leaving Kenya to go and invest in Tanzania. So this shows you the kind of the way America really treats Kenya. And he has known very well that what Kenya Kwanza wants is just praises. You will see whenever there is any sign of praise, it will be amplified in all the social media platforms of all the ministers and the bloggers in the State House team. So the risk here is what we might be posturing to get, that military aid, looking at how it's happening in Egypt, it comes with some burden. And the burden here is erosion of human rights and erosion of democracy. Number two, military aid also gives states some fortunes. We know our culture. Our culture in this country, Kenya, is that we'll always be corrupt, we'll always misappropriate. We've gotten a beautiful word for corruption, not misappropriation. Before it gets to its intended purpose, it must always be diverted. So because of these diversions, this is going to be a very good income for those who are in the positions of power. And that is one of the reasons why we might be pushing this. Now, to some extent, I think Kenya is losing its stake as the investment hub in East Africa. It's losing that. And I just want to show you a screenshot, one controversial screenshot here. I think I should get it by Gabriel Oduor. Now, something happened yesterday. When the president was speaking, Ruto is supposed to visit Ukraine. And Ukraine was supposed to establish some, I think a base here in Kenya. So allegedly said, he talked about a food shortage problem in Africa. But one of people that works in State House, that is in Uganda, actually contradicted that and said, you know, Mr. President, it's not about Kenya now. This is the screenshot, I've got it. He said, in New York, United States held talks with the Ukraine president, that is Ruto tweeting, who committed to establish grain hub in the port of Mombasa to address the food shortage in East Africa. So this tweet was picked by this Duncan Abigaba. If you check his profile, realize that he works in State House, saying, Uganda has nowhere to sell her excess milk, eggs, bananas, etc. And then there is President William Ruto forcing a food shortage on East Africa. Mr. President, hii ni shida ya Kenya peke yake. Kenya isn't East Africa. Carry your own cross, let's get cross. Now, that's it. We seem to be losing the investment story and pushing more on that military. I have still a very good analysis for you about the United Nations Assembly, General Assembly. I'm still packaging around it, so make sure you subscribe because tomorrow I'll make sure I package it for you. Thank you.